0:30 local time. The U.S. aircraft carrier moves ahead at a steady pace. Engines settled. Flight deck quiet. A normal watch. No alerts. No heightened posture. Another routine transit recorded minute by minute in the ship's schedule. Then at 0:42, a new symbol appears on surface radar. A single contact. Long range, low speed, nothing unusual for these waters. Surface traffic comes and goes all the time. Fishing vessels, commercial ships, patrol craft moving in the distance. The contact is tagged and tracked, nothing more. At 1:18, a second contact appears. Different bearing, same general type of signal. Still far out, the watch officer gives the screen another look. Two contacts now, separated by miles of open water. No converging course yet, no sudden increase in speed. Everything's still within normal limits. At 2:05, a third contact arrives. This one is closer, closing faster than the others. Not aggressive, just deliberate. 3 contacts, 3 bearings, 3 separate tracks. Inside the Combat Information Center, the atmosphere changes, not into panic, but into sharper attention. Tracks are numbered, bearings are read out loud, distances are called and confirmed. No one raises their voice. By 2:40, a pattern begins to form. The 3 contacts are no longer moving independently. Each makes small course adjustments. 5 degrees here, 7 degrees there. Not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to matter. The CIC plots the geometry. The tracks are converging, not rushing, not charging, just closing in. At 3:10, the distance between the outer contacts and the carrier drops below the first advisory threshold. Still safe, still lawful, still quiet. On the bridge, nothing changes. The carrier holds course and speed. No evasive move, no visible reaction. The deck crew continues routine tasks as if it were any other hour. At 3:30, the CIC confirms what the geometry has already suggested. The 3 surface contacts are forming a loose triangle, not a patrol line, not parallel shadowing, a shape. By 3:55, electronic support systems begin refining the picture. Emissions are faint but consistent. Military signatures, surface combatants, not civilian vessels. The contacts are reclassified. At 4:12, nationality is confirmed, Iranian Navy. No announcement echoes through the ship, no dramatic pause. The information is logged, repeated once for verification, and passed up the chain. 3 Iranian naval vessels, 3 vectors, 1 carrier. At 4:20, the carrier's projected closest points of approach are recalculated. The math tightens. The numbers get shorter. Still no immediate danger, but no coincidence either. The watch team requests permission to hail. Authorization is granted. At 4:28, the first radio call goes out. Clear, neutral, professional. No response. The radio remains silent. The carrier does not alter course, it does not speed up, it does not slow down. It continues forward exactly as it has for hours, as though nothing has changed. But inside the CIC, every screen now matters. By 4:30, the geometry is unmistakable. The 3 Iranian vessels are no longer simply approaching. They are positioning. Each holds a different range, a different bearing, a different angle, together shaping the space around the carrier. Not close enough to create immediate danger, not far enough to dismiss. The sea remains calm, the sky stays clear. No visible armament is being readied, no targeting radar cuts through the air. Just 3 hulls, 3 vectors, and intent measured in degrees and minutes. This is no longer routine traffic. This is the moment when attention hardens into focus. From here on, every second matters more than the one before, and the box has only just begun to close. At 4:40, the geometry tightens. All 3 Iranian vessels adjust speed within the same minute. Not a burst, not a sprint, just enough power to stay aligned. The carrier's speed remains unchanged. The gap begins shrinking faster than earlier projections showed. Inside the CIC, updated vectors slide across the displays. Bearings are recalculated. Closest points of approach redraw in real time. The triangle sharpens. At 4:45, the easternmost Iranian ship alters course 6 degrees to port. A small change, easy to miss, but the effect is immediate. The open water on that side narrows. The shape starts to look intentional. By 5:05, the southern contact mirrors the move. 5 degrees starboard. The third ship holds steady, anchoring the formation. This is no longer chance. At 5:30, the CPA drops below the advisory threshold. Still safe, still lawful, but moving in the wrong direction. The margin for error shrinks minute by minute. On the bridge, the carrier still does not react. No helm order, no course correction. The wake remains straight and unbroken. The message is silent, but unmistakable. At 5:50, the CIC requests another recalculation. The math confirms it. If all three contacts hold their present vectors, the carrier will be boxed from three sides within minutes. Not trapped, but constrained. At 6:10, the first clearly deliberate reshaping move becomes obvious. The Western Iranian vessel adjusts heading again, this time by less than 4 degrees. Subtle, precise. The triangle compresses, the watch officer logs it, no alarms, no warnings shouted. But every set of eyes in the CIC is now locked on the same patch of screen. At 6:30, the first hail is transmitted. This is a United States Navy warship conducting lawful transit. You are approaching at close range. State your intentions. The carrier waits. Nothing comes back. At 6:55, the Iranian vessels maintain course. Not backing off, not pressing hard, just holding pressure. The silence stretches. By 7:10, the triangle is no longer loose. Each ship now holds a distinct role. One forward left, one forward right, one trailing offset. The geometry limits maneuvering space without crossing any obvious line. A textbook display of gray zone pressure. At 7:40, electronic support measures register a change. Iranian surface radars stabilize into sustained tracking modes. Not targeting, not active threat posture, but no longer passive. They are watching closely. The CIC logs the shift, time-stamped, saved. At 800, distance calls come faster. Every 30 seconds, every update tighter than the last. The sea between the hulls is visibly shrinking. Still, the carrier does not move. No aircraft are launched. No deck posture changes are visible. Only discipline. At 8:20, the box reaches near completion. From above, the formation would look clean. 3 gray hulls arranged to limit space without touching it. From the bridge, it feels very different. The horizon is no longer empty. Steel now occupies it on 3 bearings. At 8:40, the CIC marks the moment. Box geometry established. The phrase is spoken once, calmly. Then the room returns to quiet concentration. At 8:50, the carrier's projected exit lanes are reviewed. All are narrow. All require coordination. None are impossible, but none are easy. At 9 o'clock, the formation holds. No sudden moves, no radio chatter, just sustained, measured pressure. 3 Iranian naval vessels, 1 U.S. aircraft carrier, and a box now fully formed. The situation crosses an invisible line, not into open danger, but into inevitability. From this point on, every action will be interpreted. Every second will carry more weight than the one before. The tension does not spike, it settles, and that makes it worse. At 9:20, the margins disappear. The updated CPA drops below standard navigational comfort. Not a collision risk, not yet. But close enough that every correction now carries consequence. The distance between the steel hulls is no longer theoretical. It is visible. Distance calls now come every 15 seconds. Inside the CIC, no one leans back. Every console is manned. Every display aligned. The room is quiet in the way only trained crews understand. No wasted motion, no unnecessary words. On the bridge, the carrier holds steady. No speed change, no heading change. The wake behind the ship remains a straight line. At 9:25, the Iranian ships maintain perfect spacing. Their movement is smooth, controlled, practiced. No one is rushing. No one is panicking. This is pressure applied slowly and deliberately, without open escalation. At 9:50, the forward left Iranian vessel edges closer. Meters, not miles. The change is small, but it shifts the geometry again. The open water narrows further. Still no visible response from the carrier. At 10:00, the Iranian formation reaches parallel alignment on 2 axes. One ship slightly ahead, one slightly aft, one offset to the side. The box is no longer just closing, it is holding. The carrier is constrained without being stopped. At 10:20, the second hail goes out. Same tone, same calm, same precision. This is a United States Navy warship operating in international waters. You are maneuvering unsafely. Acknowledge. The radio stays silent. No reply, no protest, no explanation. At 10:40, electronic emissions from the Iranian ship stabilize again. Still not targeting modes, but unmistakably deliberate. Carrier systems log everything. Frequencies, pulse widths, timing. The data set grows second by second. At 11:05, the carrier's command team reviews options. None are announced. None are visible. Every possible move is measured against the same principle. Do not escalate unless forced. So the carrier does nothing. At 11:30, the distance between hulls drops to clear visual range. Details on the Iranian decks become visible through optics, antennas, railings, crew silhouettes, moving slowly and deliberately. No crews crowding the decks. Everything remains controlled. At 11:55, the tension reaches its peak without a sound. The carrier is surrounded by intent, not open force. This is not a test of hardware. It is a test of discipline. At 12:10, the order is given quietly. Spin up the helo. Below deck, engines begin turning. Rotor blades remain folded. The Seahawk does not launch. Not yet. But the sound carries far enough to be noticed. The Iranian formation does not break. At 12:40, the geometry tightens one last time. The trailing Iranian ship edges forward, compressing the space behind the carrier. For a brief moment, all three ships are exactly where they want to be. This is the apex. At 1300, the carrier's path is mathematically constrained on three sides. Any sudden maneuver would demand immediate reaction from everyone involved. The margin for error is now measured in seconds. Still, the carrier does not turn. At 13:25, the Iranian ships hold position. No further course changes. No added speed. The formation locks in place. Time stretches. This is the most dangerous moment. Not because impact is imminent, but because restraint is being tested under pressure. No one blinks, no one flinches. At 13:50, the Seahawk's rotors spin faster. The aircraft remains on deck, restrained and ready. The signal is subtle but unmistakable. Presence without provocation. At 14:10, the Iranian ships hesitate, not visibly, but mathematically. Their spacing wavers by meters. Their synchronization slips by fractions of a second. Tiny deviations, almost impossible to see, but real. At 14:30, the situation reaches maximum tension. 3 naval vessels, 1 carrier, no exchange of fire, no words traded over open channels. Just steel, geometry, and time. From here, something has to give. At 14:38, the balance begins to shift. Nothing dramatic. No alarms, no sudden maneuvers. Just the faintest change in rhythm, small enough to miss unless you are watching closely. Inside the CIC, spacing indicators update. One of the 3 Iranian vessels is no longer perfectly aligned. The deviation is slight, measured in meters, not ship lengths, but it breaks the symmetry. The box is no longer rigid. At 14:45, the order is given. Launch the helo. The Seahawk lifts cleanly from the deck, rising just above the carrier's island before moving forward into open air. It does not rush. It does not climb high. The aircraft levels out low over the water, rotors steady, profile unmistakable. This is not escalation. This is presence. At 15:05, the helicopter establishes a wide orbit, maintaining safe distance from all 3 Iranian ships. Its sensors come online quietly. Cameras roll. Everything is recorded. Time, position, bearing. No visible armament is presented. At 15:20, a short controlled laser pulse appears on the water near the nearest Iranian ship. It does not linger. It does not threaten. It simply marks awareness. The message is precise. We see you. At 15:40, the Iranian formation reacts, not all at once and not decisively. The eastern ship holds course. The southern ship adjusts slightly to avoid the helicopter's path. The third ship, the one already out of alignment, lags again. The delay is subtle, but it matters. At 1600, the CIC confirms it. The triangle is deforming. The carrier continues straight ahead, unchanged. The helicopter maintains its orbit. Pressure is still there, but now it is uneven. At 1620, the misaligned Iranian ship reduces speed by a fraction. Not a retreat, just caution. The result is immediate. The spacing between hulls increases on one side of the formation. A gap begins to open. At 1640, the 2 remaining Iranian ships try to compensate, adjusting course to preserve the box. But their movements are no longer perfectly synchronized. Each correction creates another. The geometry starts to weaken. At 1700, the helicopter shifts position slightly, staying clear and staying visible. Its sensors remain fixed on the formation. No radio calls, no warnings. Silence does the work. At 1710, the gap widens enough to show clearly on the displays. The carrier's projected maneuvering space expands for the first time since the encounter began. Not freedom, but room. At 17:30, the Iranian ships hesitate again. One alters heading to keep distance from the helicopter. Another holds position to avoid drawing too near the carrier's bow. The box can no longer be sustained without increasing risk. At 17:45, the helicopter completes one slow, deliberate pass, then returns to orbit. The action is recorded from multiple angles. Every heading change, every hesitation, captured and logged. At 1800, the formation breaks. Not suddenly, not dramatically. One Iranian ship eases back, increasing separation. The second follows seconds later. The third maintains distance, no longer trying to close the space. The box is open. The carrier has not fired. It has not altered course. It has not raised its voice. But the moment has passed. The pressure has reversed. From here on, disengagement is no longer one option among many. It is the only one left. At 1810, the tension begins to drain away. The change is gradual. No abrupt turns, no signal of defeat. Just distance opening, measured, deliberate, undeniable. The Iranian ship that first slipped out of alignment reduces speed further, widening the gap by hundreds of meters. The second follows, easing off its previous vector. The third maintains position but no longer presses forward. The box is gone. Inside the CIC, the displays confirm it in quiet succession. Spacing increases. Closest point projections stretch outward. The geometry that held the carrier in place for hours dissolves back into open water. On the bridge, the carrier maintains course. No victory turn, no acceleration, no acknowledgement of the shift. At 1820, a radio transmission breaks the silence for the first time. It is brief, measured, and non-confrontational. The Iranian voice does not accuse, it does not threaten, it offers no clear explanation. The message is logged and acknowledged without reply. At 1835, the Seahawk completes its final orbit. Sensors continue recording until the last moment. Then, smoothly, the helicopter turns away from the formation and heads back toward the carrier. The rotor pitch never changes. The flight remains routine. At 1850, the helicopter settles onto the deck. Blades slow, engines wind down, no applause, no commentary. Just another landing entered into the day's operations. At 1910, the Iranian ships continue to separate. One alters heading away from the carrier's track. Another drops farther astern. The third keeps distance on a parallel course, no longer shaping the space around the carrier. The sea opens again. At 1930, the closest point of approach exceeds standard safety margins once more. Distance calls become less frequent. The CIC returns to its baseline rhythm. At 2000, the carrier passes beyond the former contact area entirely. The horizon ahead is clear. The wake behind remains straight. The Iranian ships are now simply contacts again, tracked, monitored, but no longer central to the moment. At 2030, the situation is formally downgraded. Systems remain alert, but posture relaxes. No new orders are issued. At 2100, the Iranian formation fully disperses. Each ship takes a separate heading, none crossing the carrier's path. No final hail, no closing statement. The encounter ends without ceremony. At 2130, the logs are complete. Timelines are exact, datasets are archived. Every course change, every emission, every second of pressure is preserved as record, not drama. At 2200, the carrier continues its transit exactly as planned hours earlier. Same speed, same heading, same mission. No exchange of fire, no contact between hulls, no formal rules broken. But the outcome is unmistakable. 3 naval vessels attempted to constrain one carrier through geometry and pressure. They broke off without achieving that aim. The carrier did not answer with force. It did not need to. This was not a contest of firepower. It was a test of discipline, and discipline held. The sea returns to silence. The horizon opens. The carrier moves on unchanged. And the message delivered without a single round fired travels farther than any missile ever could.